Morning. So we're up to Siman Tov Test. We'll finish off the Siman today. Not much to finish, just the last few halachas. But basically, we're finishing off the concept of how to make Eruv and Eruv Techumim. And the idea is that we've spoken about so far is that there are two ways of doing it. Number one is that you actually physically go there and you say, this is, that Shvisasi b'makom hazeh, whatever the Lashon is, you say, this is where I am actually being koine shvus, and you have 2,000 amos, and then you do that on Friday afternoon, and then you go home again, and that becomes the place where you actually are on Erev Shabbos, or you actually put food there. And you can put the food there, and we said yesterday, either you put it there, or you can get a shliach to put it there for you. Now, we're going to talk about a third possibility, and that is, you're traveling, and this only applies to a traveler, you're traveling on Erev Shabbos, and you realize that the place you want to get to, the city you want to get to, is beyond the Tchum. But there's a landmark. So you know that, 1,000 amas away, let's say the city is 3,000 amas away, and it's nearly Shabbos, and I'm not going to be able to get there. So what you can do is, you can do a very clever thing. You can say, hey look, that tree, 1,000 amas away, I'm being koine shvisa by that tree. So that becomes your center point, and you've got 2,000 amas either direction from there. So I can walk there, and then I can walk from there, another 2,000 amas, and I'll get to my destination on Shabbos. That's what we're saying over here. So it says the Mechab ben Yud Aleph, Misha Baba Derech, someone who's traveling, or Maki Ilon, or he sees a tree, or God there, a fence, B'Seif Alpaim Amma, at the end of 2,000 amas, i.e. within 2,000 amas, and he's worried that it might become dark, i.e. Shabbos comes in before he arrives there. He can say, my shvisa is underneath, is at the root of the trunk of the tree, at the center point of the tree. Kona shvisa be'ikare, he is koine shvisa at the trunk of the tree, at the center of that tree. And therefore he's got 2,000 amas in each direction. Even though he might not be able to read there b'mahalech beinani with normal walking, he can only, it's like 20 minutes till Shabbos, and he can only get there by running. Nevertheless, he can go there gently, leisurely, even though he won't get there till after Shabbos comes in. But if there's no way he could get there, then he can't move from where he is, because he's now said, my Mokum Shvis is over there. That did not succeed because he can't actually get there. And then he's he's stuck. So therefore, his tchum is here. It didn't work over there. He was oikedas to say that I'm not going to be over here, and therefore he's actually stuck, and he's got to be restricted to the 4 amas that he's currently in, because he wasn't koine shvisa here because he intended over there, and he wasn't koine over there because he is too far away. So therefore, he's actually stuck, and he's got to stick to the 4 amas. So it's a high risk strategy. You've got to just make sure that it's within 2,000 amas, and he can access it and get there on Shabbos. Okay, let's do the Mishnah Berurah till there. Sifkot Nunvov. Ilon oigode v'hu adin sha'ar mokum mesuyim. It loved after a tree or a fence, any other designated landmark. Could go in Sela, Orach, or Chiagavna. V'gam tzien mi'mokum hashvisa betel, or he designates a mound, a little hill. Sorry, v'im tzien. V'im tzien mokum hashvisa betal. If he designates his mokum hashvisa to be a little mound, shehu gevaya asar tvachim, which is 10 tvachim high, or bika, or a ditch, amuka asar tvachim, or is a ditch which is lower than, which is deeper than 10 tvachim. Ad beis yisayim nechsheves kulaka arba amas. Then it's got an area of 2,000 of Beis Yisayim, and that's considered like one area of Beis of Daled Amas. And from that area, he's going to have 2,000 amas in each direction. Shvisasi tachtov beikare shel ilan. Lafukim omastam shvisasi tachtov. He's got to say beikare. He's got to designate the place at the tree where it is, and therefore, if he just says shvisasi tachtov, that's not good enough. Because shel kolel gam tachas anofim. If he says shvisasi tachtov, imagine a big tree with lots of branches. You haven't designated where you want on that tree. Afilu im kol ilan b'toich shir alpaim amma mimokim amidosei lo yelo mino ilan v'hola alpaim amma shleimim ki im pachas mizeh uchdelakame. we'll see soon how that works. You're going to restrict your 2,000 amas a little bit if you don't designate exactly the spot on the tree. We'll see soon. So either way, kona shvisa. So if he points to a landmark, he is kona shvisa in that place, ba'amir ba'alma, by mere verbal declaration. Because Chazal will make it for a traveler, or there in Sifyud Gimel will say that it's dafka a traveler, but someone who's sitting at home can't point to the tree and say, yeah, my Mokum Shvisa is over there. Mutzalelech l'shom benachas, v'hu adin, to mutzaleshev bimkaimai. He can't say, the mutzaleshev, he's allowed to then go home, v'leilech shom lemocha, and then he'll go there tomorrow. Alpaim on 2,000 amas to the place of the tree, and then 2,000 amas from the trunk of the tree, v'hola, and beyond the other way. Since he could have reached there by running, before Shabbos, and therefore it works even if he doesn't actually go there. So he can designate that landmark from afar. Okay, continues the Mechaber. Bottom line. So he's got to have designated a place of 4 amas within 2,000 amas. From my shvisa is going to be at the trunk of the tree. And from here till the trunk, is not more than 2,000 amas. Then that would work. If, however, the entire tree is half, it's a very big tree, and half in the 2,000 amas and half out the 2,000 amas, v'lo yiched mokum tachto, and he doesn't designate a specific place in the tree, lo kona shvisa, it's not going to work. Why? Because maybe he's referring to the 4 amas of the tree, which is beyond the 2,000 amas, v'gam kan lo kon, and he's not going over there by the tree, and he's not going over here, shari oka daita mikan v'lo yozuz mimkoime, as we said before. So in a situation like that, where the tree is half in the 2,000 amas, he's got to designate a part of the tree, 4 amas of the tree, which is within the 2,000 amas. Says the Mishnah, let's just do the Mishnah on that. Sifkot and Samach. V'davka sheyiched, v'rotzolema, da'afilu heicha sheyochel lagia shami b'yidyoim. Even if he could have got there from before Shabbos, lo mahani ela b'sheyiched, he's got to designate a specific area in the tree. V'hinei lo chidish machab b'zeh dova. The Mechadish is not telling us anything new here. Al mashe kosav b'reish hasif, that we said previously. The Kavanah is as if he said, the dafka ba'ofen shetziarnu, dafka in the way we just described, she'omah shvisasi be'karei, i.e., she'yichid b'zeh ha'mokum l'shvisa, he designated a specific place. V'zeh ha'mokum hoy b'toich ha'payim. Avalim lo yichid ha'mokum tachtov, but if he doesn't designate a place, ve'ein kol elim b'toich ha'payim, and the whole tree is not within the 2,000 amas, lo yikona sham shvisa. Because the Shem HaYibedaita, because perhaps he was referring to part of the tree which is beyond the 2,000 amas, and therefore he's messed up. Ein Yosem Me'alpayim. Love, where was this going on? Samach Aleph. Yeah, Avalim Ein Kol Ilan B'Toich Alpayim. Then he's got a problem. Says Mishnah Samach Aleph. Love Dafka. It's not exactly 2,000 amas because Dafilim Hoyim Mekoyim Adikar Alpayim Va'arba amas. It's actually 2,004 amas. Because remember, we always get the extra 4. Kona Sham Shvisa. Denoisin Arba Amas Lemokum Shvisa Levada Alpayim. You get 4 amas plus 2,000. V'gam Kavanas Mechaba Hazeh. Sorry, who Alpayim Levad Ha'arba Amas Lemokum Shvisa. And the Mechaba really means that. V'gam Hashekozvachkach Avul Teich Alpayim Ha'kavana B'Teich Alpayim V'arba Amas. That's really what he means. Im ein kol elon, if the whole tree is not within 2,000 amas, hainu, avshe kar b'teich hatchum, maybe the trunk of the tree is within 2,000 amas, elishem miktsas anofov yoitzin chus l'tchum, but parts of the leaves spread beyond 2,000, outside of the tchum, hainu chus l'alpayim v'arba amas, beyond 2,004 amas from where he is, v'hulo yichid shvisosa sheyeh b'tzadi kare, and he didn't designate the trunk. Shehu b'teichatchum, which is within 2,000. El amastam shekon shvisa tachas oilan. So lochein lo kon shvisa klal, because maybe he's referring to the bit which is beyond 2,000 amas. To shemel kivein likon shvisa tachas anofim ayoyis in chus l'tchum. And therefore, what we'd say about him, lo yozuz mimkoyim rotzalem meteich arba amas, he can't move, i.e., from within his 4 amas. Okay, back to the Mechaber. 3 lines down. V'im kulei omed b'teich alpayim. If the entire tree is within 2,000 amas, and he doesn't designate a specific part of the tree, such as the trunk or something, he just says, my shvisa is under the tree. chutz mishia mesha tachtov shalon. He's got to deduct the breadth, the width of the tree. Kugain imshia ilan esrim amma. For example, if the tree, imagine like a big tree with with a branch spanning 20 amma, yesh lo sham alpaim pachas esrim amma. He only has 2,000 less the 20 amas. Well, let's see why in the Mishnah Berurah. Sif Cotton Samach Daled. Arba Alofim Komer Sadilon. Kitz Lashon Yesh Kam. When he says 4,000 amas, it's sort of an abbreviated Lashon, because V'rot Solomon, what he means is Mitzad Zeh Shelo Ilan Mitzato Ilan V'Holo Letzad Beisei. In other words, from me to the tree is 2,000 amas, and from the tree I get another 2,000 amas, a total of 4,000 amas. Yesh Lo Alpaim Amo. Pachas me esrim amo. He has 2,000 less than 20. Why less than 20? Hainu mikol tzad shelo ilon, because of the whole breadth of the tree. Ein noisten lo rak shiozeh. We don't give him the whole breadth of the tree. For nimsa shebiyachad im reichav ilon hu besach hakol arba alofim pachas me esrim amo. Vatam, and the reason is mishum de bekol reichav ilon sho esrim amo mesafkin and lamokim shvis v'tzalin l'chumra, because we don't know where he referred to in the tree. Maybe it was the beginning of the tree, maybe it was the end of the tree, and we're sophic, it's a sophic, and therefore because when we measure the 2,000 amas beyond the tree in the other direction, we measure we begin measuring from from where he is. Why? Because maybe he was referring to the beginning of the tree, and therefore we only measure 2,000 amas from the beginning of the tree, and therefore you knock off the 20 amas of the whole span of the tree. For after the fizeh mishum adraglav hu'apayim pachas me'esrim amo, even though it's going to give him 2,000 less 20 amas. Fino hochi ein yochel lahalech la'achrav klum mimakim shu omed. Domrin Hashem konesh visosa ba'arba amas shall sefer, because maybe the 4 amas he was referring to is at the end of the tree, and therefore you can't measure 2,000 amas and include you got to include the part which is nearer his feet. Okay, fine. So what have we said so far? We've said that he can, if he's traveling, he can look at that tree and say, my shvisa is by the trunk of the tree, and that works, and he'll have 2,000 amas from beyond the tree to enable him to go. If he doesn't designate a specific area, then we have to just discount the whole breadth of the tree, because we're not quite sure where the 4 amas are under the tree. Okay, fine. Now, says the Mechaber, where this is now the shit of the Rambam. This is halfway down. Ulah Rambam, the beginning of the line. Ulah Rambam hakoine shvisa berichuk mokum. The Rambam is of the opinion that when you're koine shvisa from afar, and you're not Messiah the Shvachim Shvisa, and you don't designate a specific point on the tree, then it doesn't work. What we said just till now was that it works. It's just that you've got to take off 20 amas. But according to the Rambam, if you're not specific and you don't designate a specific 4 amas of the tree, or you just say by the trunk of the tree or something like that, then it doesn't work, and you're actually koine shvisa from where you are when Shabbos comes in. And so too, the Rambam holds that if you say shvisasi mokum ploni v'hurach mimenu yosem me'alpaim kana shvisa mikoimai, you are koine shvisa where you are. So let's see what the Mishnah says on that. The Rambam Sif Kotzen Samach Vav, but Richuk Mokum V'Loisiyim V'Afshu B'Toich HaTchum, even if it's in the Tchum Mokum Raglov, so you can point to that tree and say my shvisa is going to be over there. But if you didn't designate 4 amas on the tree, it's not going to work, and therefore you're going to be your kind of shvisa where you are, because the leder rishena. Because according to the first opinion, which we've mentioned until now, kana shvisa sham, you are kind of shvisa by the tree. It's just that ve'ein mafsed and a mokum reichvil, and you ought to just discount the width of the tree. Canal, like we said before, or the Rambam kivin shlosim mekoma. But according to the Rambam, since you don't designate a specific point in the tree, ein a kind of sham shvisa klal, you're not koine shvisa there at all. And a koine shvisa also b'makom raglov, you're koine shvisa where you are when Shabbos comes in. Okay, v'hu rochik samach zayin kana shvisa b'mkoimai This also is another point of argument with the first opinion. According to the first opinion, he can't move. Because, as like I explained before, he's sort of he's caught from both ends. He said my place is going to be over there, and it didn't work because it's more than 2,000 amos away. So he's not koine shvisa there, and he's not koine shvisa here where he is either, because his mind was over there. So according to the first opinion, he's got to stay within the Daled Amos. But according to the Rambam, koine shvisa al kol panim b'koimei. It's just, if it didn't work over there, then the default is I'm koine shvisa where I am, and I will. So in a way, it's a kula for the Rambam, because at least I get my 2,000 amos from where I am. But according to the first opinion, I'm stuck and I'm limited to the Daled Amos. Okay, weiter. Let's just finish off this sif. 4 lines from the bottom. If a guy says my shvisa is going to be underneath a so and so tree. Now, if that tree has more than 8 amas, because again, you haven't designated 4 amas in the tree. So you didn't designate a specific mokum shvisa. Therefore, what you've got to do is you've got to say, I'm koine shvisa by the trunk of the tree, or the 4 amas at the north of the tree or the south of the tree. You've got to be very specific. But if the tree is fairly small, and you say, I'm being koine shvisa by the cherry tree, in that field, and it's less than 8 amas, then it works. Why? Because we have v'nischav nishbos tachtov kona shari mixas mekomes mesuyim. Because you're going to, even if I meant the south side of the tree, which is, let's say the whole thing is 7 amas, then I'm going to at least have cover 1 amma of that tree. Because even if it was the north side that I was thinking of, then there's 1 amma which is going to overlap. So either way, if it's less than 8 ammas, I'm going to be okay. The Mishnah Berurah explains it a bit more. It says Mishnah Berurah, Shmeina ammas, sif kotzen samaches, even according to this, afilu kol hashmeina amas hoyu b'toich alpayim b'makom ragav lo kiven lo kain l'dei rishona. So again, if he points to a tree which has more than 8 amas width, then it doesn't work. So this is going to be also going to be enough commitment between the first opinion and that of the Rambam. So because he, according to the Rambam, he'll be back to the default of where he is, and according to the Dei Rishona, the first opinion we've spoken about, he won't be koine shvisa bichlal, and he'll be stuck with 4 amas from where he is. Shebitzfeina, he's got to designate 4 amas in the north side of the tree. If it's more than 8 amas, efshe gamkein siem l'sayim hamokum. We don't know which 4 amas is referring to. But if it's less than 8 amas, let's say it's 6 amas or it's 7 amas or something, then mixas mesuyim. But I'm sorry, let's say it's 7 amas. He's going to always have 1 amma overlap to the monoshach. Because if he says for the middle of the tree, if that's what he meant, so he's definitely got 4 amas within the middle of the tree. Either way, he's going to have at least 1 amma. V'chein das harif, and the Rif says the same thing. We actually paskin like the Dei Rishona. And therefore, the best thing to do is actually to be very specific and to specify the trunk of the tree or a special part of the tree. Okay, let's just finish off. Yud Beis. Hayu Shnaim. There were 2 people. Echod makir ve'echod ena makir. One knew the locale and one didn't. She'ena makir moise shvisos makir. The person who's not familiar with the local area, it hands over his shvisa to the one who is. Va'omer, and the one who is says the following: Shvisosenu b'mokum pleni. Our shvisa, the 2 of us, is in a certain place. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sha'im elai shvisosi mimcha. The first one says, my shvisa is with you. Va'amakir omer shvisosenu b'mokum pleni. And therefore the second one can say that I know the area, and our shvisa is going to be by the cherry tree, in their such and such a place, because the second one knows the area.
So even if the first one, even if they don't walk together, they won't know where the
the 2 of them walking together, and he said, look, we want to get to the town, we're not going to get there. So one says, okay, my shvisa is with you, and the other guy says, okay, I know the landmarks, there's a cherry tree, in a couple of fields' time, that's going to be our shvisa. That's how they do it.
No, but if they walk separately, they can't walk separately. Then if he doesn't.
Yeah, because the one has got to be Moshe Shvis as the other one, and the other one does the talking. Yeah. Okay, let's just finish Yud Gimel. V'dafka love baderech hitirula. This important point that we referred to earlier. It's this whole heta of designating a mokum shvisa from afar is only for the traveller. V'dafka love baderech hitirula ki agavna aval loy lemishu bebeisa. Not someone who's sitting at home. V'imomakein loy ola loy. And if that's if he says that, he's sitting at home in his armchair pointing to the tree, a while away. It doesn't work. And his house will be his mokum shvisa. Says Mishra Ayin Gimel to Mishum hu yogeh baderech. The guy is traveling. Who hekilo shekoin shvisa b'dibur ba'alma. Chazal will make him to allow him to verbally declare his mokum shvisa. Mashem shvisas v'mokum ploni. Mashen ke misha bebeisa, opposed to someone who's sitting in his home. Ein koin shvisa ele keshaholich beraglov v'yeshiv sham asher techshach yishmenech mozen shtei sudas. So like I said before, there's three options now. Either you actually go there physically and you're there ben hashmoshes when Shabbos comes in, and that is koin your shvisa. Or you put mozen shtei sudas there, and that's going to be koine shvisa, and then in that situation you can come home and wherever you put the mozen shtei sudas. Or if you're walking and traveling, you can point to a landmark and designate it. Ayin dalet shvisas beisoi, bezeh afilu derishen the del besif yudalef desfirle sham leyozim koimei moed sheyesh shvis beisoi. Here in this situation, if you're sitting in your home and you point to that landmark, it doesn't work. Right, because it's only a heta for travelers. So what do you have? You have your mokum shvisa from your house. You get your 2,000 amos for house. Even the Deri Shona who says you only get the 4 amos, here in this situation will agree that your house is going to be your shvisa. To kiven do omed bebesa, because since you are at home, vada nichle delikne shvisa bebesa, kishelo yoel amirosa likne shvisa mokum acher. Then it's certainly that your mindset will be that if it doesn't work, my house will be my mokum shvisa. Or commercial kasav the Mishnah Berurah. Okay.